Good afternoon. Well, I was diagnosed with breast cancer back in 1993, and I was feeling pretty good by 2008. I thought, great, licked that, no problems whatsoever. And so I was hugely disappointed to be diagnosed with ovarian stage 3 in 2008. And like most of you, I suppose, very few symptoms, right? You know, very vague. I went to my GP about something totally unrelated. I was having a few stomach problems, and he said, yes, we'll do a scan. And I said, I'm getting a bit bloated and I've been a bit tired. And he said, all right, so he just tacked on a transvaginal ultrasound. And of course, the rest is history. The next few days are a nightmare. I'm sure you can always remember that horrific. Your mind just goes to mush. It's all red. I'm going to die. I'm not going to see my children grow up. I'm going to hurt. And, it's a most dreadful period, isn't it? I felt totally alienated from the world around me. I felt that I was in a parallel universe. They could all talk about birthdays and events and retirement and holidays, and I didn't know if I was going to have any. It was like being in a long, dark tunnel, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's just the tunnel. It's an appalling time, and I've never yet met anyone that's managed to be bright and cheerful throughout that. And I was operated on 4 days later by a brilliant surgeon, and as usual had everything vacuumed out. But surprisingly, I felt much better after the surgery, because it's so much better to know what you are actually dealing with than have this horrible fear of this whirling terror in the background, because then you've got the medical team and you can say, right, this is what it is, and this is what we're going to do about it. And I think that's a great thing. I fervently believe that knowledge is power. As is common, the surgery was followed by chemo, and that's not a walk in the park, is it? But as my surgeon said, you have a lousy week, you have a sort of bad week, and then you have a good week. So I always made it a point to plan some little thing in the third week. It might be just, sorry, I'm bashing this thing. It might be just a dinner with a few close friends. It might be going for a day in the country or something that just is something to look forward to amongst the gloom. And at the very end of it, I'd plan something big, like going on a trip or something that you really wanted to do that you could just keep your eye on. I hated losing my hair. I would have gladly suffered an ice bucket on my head, I really would. I can remember ringing my hairdresser and saying, get over here and shave me, because I went in the shower and pulled my hand away and the hair came out and I went, oh. So I said, right, shave me. And because I'd been to look good, feel better, I had all my wigs ready and my makeup. And when then it didn't matter anymore. I just bunged the wig on and did the makeup, and it was okay. But they don't tell you that you're going to lose it all over your body, do they? They don't tell you that, and all of a sudden you look like E.T., right? That's another thing. Look good, feel better was good. But you don't have to shave your legs, and you get a Brazilian for free. Did any of you go to Look Good, Feel Better? Isn't it fantastic? And they send you home with the most amazing... Yeah, I can remember Anne saying you went to it. Isn't it terrific? Anyone that hasn't gone, if you're going to lose your hair, for God's sake, go to it. I was helped massively by forming a strong connection with 2 chemo buddies. And over the years, we helped each other through good and bad times, sometimes with tears, but more often with laughter. And Debbie even brought champagne to chemo. And things went swimmingly for the next 2 years, but then it did come back in the form of a tumour. And again, I had surgery to remove it, plus a second round of chemo. But did not this time lose the hair, and that was bliss. Then 2 years later, another tumour appeared. This time it was sitting on the liver, and this was removed, but no chemo again. 18 months later, November 13. Another tumour was removed, at which stage I suggested it might be a good idea to put in a zip. I look a bit Frankenstein-like, I have to tell you. And I look permanently pregnant because they cut through my stomach muscles. But every time I look down, I think, oh, well, you're still here, small price. What have I learned over this period that might be helpful to you? Firstly, it's way better to live your life knowing that you have this thing rather than live your life as a cancer patient. Right? My surgeon told me after the first op, he said, Jan, I know you're tired and sore, but when you get home, I want you to get out your front gate the first day. I want you to walk to the house next door and then walk back again. And the next day I want you to go a little bit further and then a little bit further. And he said, what it's doing is it's stopping you being a patient and it's making you get back into life. I followed his advice and my friend took me for coffee on the way home from hospital and it was fabulous. I loved it. Even though I was tired, I just felt that I was part of humanity again. And surround yourself with family and friends who love life and make you laugh. That's probably my number one. This is a time in your life you need to shed negative acquaintances and you need to stick with those who replenish rather than drain. Neither do you want the ones around that saying, oh, poor you, oh, does it hurt? You know. Connect with other cancer patients. They're the only ones who really understand what it's like to be in this club because they get it. Ovarian Cancer Australia provides many opportunities, obviously, for you to meet others, both in person and at events like this, or through their webinars and online forums, so make the most of it. I think it's terribly important that you accept you have down times and you have bad days. I'm the eternal optimist, always have been. I'm glass half full. But I'm no Pollyanna, and I've been to really, really, really dark places during this journey. And I can only tell you how I handle that. Each one finds their own way. On the days when I feel totally overcome with fear and depression, I used to shut myself off for the day, take the phone off the hook. I felt immensely sorry for myself, wallowed in self-pity. There was sometimes weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. I played Bob Dylan or Beethoven very loudly, drank lots of wine, and eventually it seemed to wash away. I got it out of my system, it worked for me. But mind you, I'm not suggesting you all rush out and do that. I'm only saying it works for me. I never dwell on the cancer, but I do go back into that fear area when I'm going for a test. I'm even all right going in for the test. As soon as they take the blood or go through the scan, I am terrified until I get the result. Because the boogeyman was there in the dark and he did jump out, and so he might be there again. And I think in times like that it's just a matter of just getting through somehow until you get the result. Hopefully you've got a very good team and they let you know quickly. But mostly though, it just lurks somewhere in the back of my mind, and it only rarely surfaces when it's triggered by an event. And it's a nonsense that we have to be positive all of the time. It's almost impossible, I think, to totally eradicate all fear of the cancer coming back. But for me, several things were very helpful in diverting these thoughts. One is meditation. I practice a terribly simple form. I just breathe very, very slowly in and out and concentrate on the breathing. And it's amazing how still you can become. And when the thoughts come in, you don't fight them, but you don't think about them. You just sort of let them float across and out the other side. And this gets easier and easier, and it's a terribly simple form. And it really, really does tend to calm you down. Now, as I always say, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery. All we have is now, so you've just got to live for the day. I also see a master acupuncturist, as Sarah does. And again, this works for me, but it may not be your thing. He once said to me, and I don't know if he's ever said this to you, he said, Jan, we come up against many troubles in our life, and some are like little pebbles, and some are like rocks, and some are like whopping big boulders. Be like the river, flow round and over. And I find that a wonderful little mental picture if I'm starting to obsess about something. Check out the available trials through your team. I was fortunate enough to be included in the Avastin trial, which is now, of course, on the PBS. I did have a few problems. I got a DVT and I had 4 months to go. And he said, well, you can stay on it, but you have to have an injection of a blood thinner. What do they call it? Not Clexane, the injection, the other one. Yeah. And he said, you have to have it every day for 4 months. And I said, I'll do it. And I had to stab myself in the stomach with this needle that hurt like hell. And my stomach was one big bruise, so I was going down the leg. And that was much worse than any of the ops, any of the chemo. Trust me, they're a walk in the park next to that. But I stuck with it. And who knows, it probably has helped. I'm a great believer in them because they allow you to receive treatments which otherwise might, of course, cost many thousands of dollars, even if you can get access to them. And I have been told, interested to know, that patients on trials fare better than those who aren't on trials, which isn't surprising because you're being constantly monitored. Being fit and healthy obviously improves your immune system, and the fitter and stronger you are, the better you feel and the less you fear. I'm not obsessive and just make sure I eat lots of fruit and vegetables and generally healthy food, but I'm not a vegetarian, and I have been known to have the odd glass or two of wine, or 3. Ovarian cancer referred me to a physio who runs exercise programs for cancer patients, and I found this very helpful because I'm no gym baby, and neither were the others, and it was all tailored to meet our needs, and it was a really, really good thing, and ovarian cancer put me onto that, and I could really feel my strength improving through that. But then I fell over and broke my ankle and a couple of things, and I must admit, haven't got back to it, but one of my favourite ways of exercising is to walk Mr. Darcy, my faithful hound, and walking down the beach with him beats working out in a gym any day, so I suggest you get a dog. Do you find that people are always telling you how brave you are? Through my time with this cancer, it has been my experience that the women I've met along this journey are amazing creatures who, despite the fear, accept the situation with grace, roll up their sleeves and just get on with it. As Helen Reddy says in I Am Woman, if I have to, I can face anything. I am strong, I am invincible, I am woman. As I have previously said, knowledge is power, because then you are in control and the cancer's not controlling you. Ovarian Cancer Australia has been invaluable in providing information, and if you have not already done so, get a copy of Resilience, the booklet that they hand free to all women diagnosed with the cancer. Resilience and the website contain all the information and resources you could need, and it keeps you away from the dreaded Dr. Google. Live webinars keep you up to date with information, and you can connect to other patients through their, events like this or their online forums. But mostly they're just there walking the walk with you so that you're not alone. And all the staff do this with enormous grace, always warm and welcoming, and they provide a haven in a troubled world. So thank you, ladies. Their whole reason to be is to support you, so for heaven's sake, take advantage of their services. All the help you could need is there in one place. I will close with a few lines from Bob Dylan's Forever Young. And yes, I'm a Bob Dylan, tragic. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. And may you stay forever young. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong. And may you stay forever young. Thank you.